Much love. I'm Wayne Johnson with Doc and Queen Ministries. Much love. I'm Wayne Johnson with Doc and Queen Ministries. All right, make sure I got all the echo out. How's everybody doing tonight? Just want to make sure that everyone can hear me. Yes, hey, Tequila. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. If thumbs up, yes, all that good stuff. I guess I'm going to assume. Hey, so I'm going to assume that. Yes, awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm going to assume that we can hear on tonight. Hello, 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 Miss Nicole. Glad to have you on tonight. Going to kind of start out slow until I see more people coming on. The title of this tonight is God's Blueprint for a Wife in Marriage. God's Blueprint for a Wife in Marriage. Hey, Ray. Hey, Chase. So we're going to be coming from, because there's plenty of scriptures that can be used for the wife when it comes to marriage. But the Lord led me to Proverbs chapter 31, starting with verse 10 all the way through 31. And what's so interesting about this is on the day that God kind of revealed this to me, is that I had some dealings with the number 31. And so when I went to kind of look up what would be, the scripture verses to use for this, the 31 to the end of 31 played a huge role in it. And so I began to study. And after I finished studying, I was like, well, I don't want to rush this. And so I was like, well, God, give me some more days to work on this so I can hear from you to know exactly what to deliver. And so I went through the first day. And after I went back with the research and wrote down the notes and all that good stuff, went back, kind of found a different study Bible to make sure the initial stuff that I came up with was kind of like just me and God. And then when I went through this study Bible, a lot of the points was there. So I was right on point, thanks be to God, of course. But it was good to see that and understand that was the case. And I've always liked, you got to understand, the two women in my life. When I was growing up, there was three numbers that I really liked. Playing sports, real young, there was three numbers that I liked. The number 3, which is my favorite number, the number 24, and the number 31. Well, come to find out, the two most important women in my life, one birthday is on the 24th, and the other one is on the 31st. And if you add 24 plus 7 or take away 31 minus 7, you get the number 7, which is completion. So I just thought that God sharing that and giving that to me was huge as well. Now, completion. Let us get into this. You got to understand, I done prayed over this word at least 2 times. I think actually 3. So I'm expecting God to deliver his word through me the way he wants it and not so much the way I want to do it. So let us get this going, because I mean, I took a lot of notes. That don't mean that I'm not going to be fast with it, but I use the easy to read version in most cases. Uh, it's entitled The Perfect Wife. I know other translations title it differently, but the easy to read version entitles it The Perfect Wife. I'm going to start off with, of course, verse number 10. And it reads, how hard it is to find the perfect wife. She is worth far more than jewels. So that says a lot right there. How hard it is to find the perfect wife. And I must say, growing up, dating, being interested in females, I've always been one who I think can get along with almost everybody. So I used to think early on young that I could find pretty much any female and make it work. But lo and behold, as we read this particular scripture, it says something totally different than that. It says how hard it is to find the perfect wife. Now, maybe I was just thinking about a wife, but this says the perfect wife. And when it means the perfect wife, it don't mean that she's perfect, but she's perfect for you. When you think about the story of Adam and Eve, Adam was put to sleep by God. And, many of us growing up, we are not taught that God chooses your spouse. And we know sometimes we don't allow God to do that, but we need to, in the body of Christ, begin to share that. I think that is the reason why 50% or more find themselves in divorce. But also, when we don't teach that, that's not our belief, and that's not the way we carry it. But if we look at just Adam and Eve, for instance, hey Nina, how you doing? When we look at Adam and Eve, God put him to sleep. So even though we know that it was only Eve for him to choose if he was awoke, he didn't allow Adam to physically choose Eve. He put him to sleep. As he put him to sleep, he's preparing the perfect wife for him, Adam. So, how hard it is to find the perfect wife, if you're doing it for yourself, it's going to be very hard. But if you allow God to do it, then he's going to find the perfect wife. She is worth far more than jewels. And if you let God find that perfect wife, this is why she becomes far more than jewels. How hard? So many, and I mean the millions, like The Rock used to say, the millions and the millions of beautiful women that are out there. It is hard for you because God has to be the one who picks that perfect wife. I know as a guy, we grow up and we think about that all of the women that we put our eyes on, and we like this, we like that, we like this, we like that, so on and so forth. And there's millions to pick from. There's so many beautiful women out there. However, that one is only that one that is the perfect wife for you. And with that being said, you are not totally flawless, but you are the one that's perfect for that man. It's also hard because that man has to be perfected first. See, Adam was here before Eve. And many times we as the gentleman, we as the husband, we as the man, we are not perfecting ourselves, but we want you to be perfect for us. But we had to be perfected first. As you see, God could have just as well put male and female on earth at the exact same time, but he didn't. He put Adam here first. So Adam had to be perfected and worked out first before Eve came, or for any of the males that may be out there, before your perfect wife. That's so important. Adam had to be processed and placed in a certain order before Eve can be sent. And the same thing is supposed to happen for us as young men growing up. We must get ourselves in line and being perfected. And hopefully we have a role model as our father to show us that. But we can see in many cases that's not the case. But we have to get ourselves first. And many times we don't. We do everything. We're out here running around trying to chase every skirt but we supposed to have been taught how to prepare ourselves to be a young man capable of now taking on that perfect wife that God is going to give us. And I can't say all of us, but most of us have not been taught that way, and it doesn't even come across our mind whatsoever. So we get this all messed up because we're messed up at the beginning. And if you're messed up at the beginning, 9 times out of 10, you can be messed up in the middle, and then you're going to be messed up in the end. Exactly. Adam had to be put in a certain order before Eve is sent, just like we, the men, have to be. And so I hear a lot of times different females complain, even sometimes wives complain about their husbands, but they were not put into a certain order. You just threw it out there and it happens. And we don't treat food like that. We don't treat anything like that, where we expect perfection with no order to prepping it first. And so we as a society need to begin to have men prepped as well as women's prep for each other. And we also have to understand that God needs to be the one who chooses for a man your wife. And when we do that, everything will be in order from the start. Understand, a good wife is from the Lord. Now, we a lot of times take this, especially the men, look at this and see certain females that are out there, and we look at it like we may dissect a movie. Many times we look at a movie, it intrigues us based on, first of all, just the title of it. And then the title grabs us, and then we may proceed and watch the movie. Well, we can't choose our wife based on the way we do movies. We have to allow God to come in and do his work, and he puts in our spirit who that special woman is for you. Verse 11 reads, her husband depends on her. He will never be poor. Depend. Many guys think with their ego. They don't need someone. We see that many times guys are reluctant to get married, and guys be like, I don't need a wife. Wives are looking to find a husband in many cases, or at least in more cases than a husband is looking to find a wife. That's due to, in my opinion, the male ego. But depend on where she says her husband depends on her. Depends on means rely on, trust, support, help. Her husband depends on her. Her husband relies on her. Her husband trusts her. Her husband supports on her. Her husband needs her help. We as guys have to remove our ego. These husbands have to remove their ego and understand that they need that wife. Why? Because when we can depend on her, she will make sure that we are never going to be poor. Men don't believe that a woman benefits him in the marriage like that. He only thinks of a few things. I'm attracted to her. She looks good. She's my type. But I ain't dependent on her. I ain't relying on her. I don't, quote unquote, really need her help. But that's not what this verse 11 says. This verse 11 is saying that her purpose, your purpose is for her, is to support you, meaning that your life will be heightened substantially because your wife supports you. I'm not going to say or use the word per se that she's your backbone, but she's part of your backbone, because this tells us if we have that perfect wife, the husband depends on her, and it says he will never be poor. That's because he has that right relationship with her. His purpose depends on her. Now he's gonna need to have a purpose, but his purpose, he's gonna need to have a purpose, but his purpose will go to a new and a next level when he has his wife, because he now doesn't just do it for himself. He does it also because he has support, he has help, and he has someone he can count on to reach his purpose in a whole new special way. Yes, he may have a purpose and he may be shooting forward, but it takes on a whole nother level. You know, we as people joke when we see entertainers or athletes, and I'm speaking on the male part of it, where we see that all of a sudden something happens and they break up, and we get offended that she's going to get half or a portion of it. But we don't really, and we can't really, because we're human, we can't see how she has risen him in his profession just because she's that perfect wife. That's not measurable. And so, with that being said, hey, Tara, and thank you for the gift. We can't even begin to measure that, but that is important. That is truly there. She makes him into that perfect man. Verse 12. She does good for her husband all her life. She never calls him trouble. Now, we all talk about all the time how something about men wanting peace. And this verse tells us that she is going to have his back all her life and she's not going to cause him trouble. They function as a partnership. So therefore, she's going to do this all her life because they are now partners. They are together. She recognizes that she is him and he is her. So why would she cause him any trouble? Because they are connected. She's about her husband and she's about her household. That's why she is going to do good for her husband all her life. Verse 13. She is always gathering wool and flax and enjoys making things with her hands. In other words, she's got skills. What we used to say back in the days, kind of old. She's got skills to pay the bills. We know every woman is different. We know that some have the talent to do this and the talent to do that, this, that, and the other. But whatever she's good at, she has the ability to make things continue to go. He can count on her. He's not pulling her along. She's not a deadbeat. He's not dragging her. She's not extra in the sense of she's extra baggage. No, she is giving a helping hand, a well-deserved helping hand. This is the perfect wife for that particular husband. Verse 14. Oh, thank you, Ray. Thank you. Verse 14. She is like a ship from a faraway place. She brings home food from everywhere, even when she's far off, not around, in another state, had to go here, had to go there. You have to understand her heart has her husband's best interest. That's what this is getting at. She has his back. Hey, Natalie, glad that you showed up as well. Oh, great, great. Blueprint. Yes, God gave me Blueprint as I had originally had a different title, but I allowed God to retitle the title. So that says a lot. We have to understand that we have to allow God to be more a part of our life, and as opposed to just thinking we're just here, almost like, and I know I'm old school. We have to we can't treat God like back when I used to watch Lost in Space, where they were just put on a planet and you just go for yourself. So we have to make sure that God is a part of our being. Verse 15, she wakes up early in the morning, cooks food for her family, and gives the servants their share. Now, she makes sure that the lead, which is the husband, and the rest of the family, and everything that pertains to what they have is ready to go the next day. She is the spark plug. She is the key that starts the ignition. Yes, whatever car you may drive, you are focused on that car. but it's going to take our focus on that car. But it's going to take that small key to start that car that you like. That's who the perfect wife is. She gets things going. She puts the fire to the rest of the family and makes sure that they are on their way. She takes them from they're just getting up and projects them into the day. And she does that not just for herself, not just for her husband, but her whole household. Verse 16. She looks at land and buys it. Yes, the assistant CEO. Yes, I like that. She looks at land and buys it. She uses the money she has earned and plants a vineyard. She contributes to the marriage and make great and positive moves. She just doesn't stay at home, watch soap operas, and do nothing all day. She has a vital role. You know, I remember younger, even though I knew plenty, I know my mom was one, I knew plenty of women who worked back then, but there were some who didn't. And, you know, sometimes the men would downplay what the woman would do all day, those who did not work. All they would say is expect, well, long as you have the food ready, the kids straight, and quote unquote, be ready for bedtime, that's all I needed you to do. But that is not what's said here. We always, well, at least when I was growing up, we always kind of believed that, you know, the man would go out and work, and then the woman would just be in the house and, you know, practically do nothing all day. But this is not what God's word in Proverbs is putting out there. She has just as much of a role. Hey, Leslie. She has just as much a role as anybody else in that household. And actually, like I said, she is the spark plug. She is the key. Verse 17, she works very hard. See, she works very hard. She is strong and able to do all her work. She handles her part of the household. She does not just sit around and reap without doing anything. She makes a difference. We have to make sure that we give our ladies, our wives, their due just daily, because they have just as much on their plate as we do, or at least if she's operating in this perfect wife of Proverbs 31, 10 through 31. So we must give her her flowers and uplift her for doing the things that she does. Verse 18 says, she works late into the night. She makes sure her business earns a profit. In other words, she produces until it's time to stop. She is making it happen throughout the day. And if you're not doing that, then you're not operating as this Proverbs 31 woman. She is good at a variety of things. She knows what it takes the whole time. She knows how to get the work done. It was a song back in the 80s or 90s. She works hard for the money. And that's what this is saying. I know when I was growing up, it made us believe and think that a woman's job was minimal and that the man did everything. But we see here that is not the case. we see that she is putting in the work, and she's doing it from the beginning of the day all the way to late at night. She does everything. She's doing a whole lot. She is representing, yes, a godly woman, a mother, a wife, a friend, one to make it happen. Yes, Donna Summers, yes, working hard for the money. Verse 19, she makes her own thread and weaves her own cloth. She don't expect someone else to take care of her man. The two has become one. So it's no longer his mother's job, because he is supposed to leave and cleave with his wife, and she makes sure that he is now taken care of. That used to be the mother's MO, but now that the two are one, and now he is cleaving with his wife, she is the one who's going to make sure that her man, her husband, is taken care of. Verse 20, she always gives to the poor and help those who need it. So this perfect wife, this blueprint of this particular wife, shows compassion and love for others. We already know she's taking care of her family, her household, and everything around the house, but she also has compassion for those outside of her household. She's a saint. She loves others, and that is huge as well. Verse 21. She does not worry about her family when it snows. She has given them all good, warm clothes. She is well prepared, even for the unforeseen situations. You know, we put on a lot of times that women worry more. But we understand through God's word that worrying does. However, the perfect wife, the blueprint of being this godly wife, what she does is she's already prepared for the unforeseen situations that may come upon. We all know that things will happen. I laugh, and we don't do a lot of this today, but I laugh when I was growing up. The moment it thunder and lightning, all electricity is being cut off. You're not doing anything but sitting and just being quiet. Now's the day, we don't cut off the TV. We don't do a whole lot of anything. It was just interesting. Today is Wednesday, I believe Monday. My neighbor has a pool, and some of the kids were out in the pool, and the lightning struck real loud. And it was still sunny, but that you could hear the thunder go off. And they got out the pool, but they didn't like get out the pool fast. And I know back in the day, man, grandma would have made sure that we were all in that special spot we needed to be in, and all the lights and all the electricity was cut off. So that wife is ready for unforeseen situations. Verse 23. Her husband is a respected member of the city council, where he meets with the other leaders. Now, she makes sure her husband is in right standing with others. Her countenance speaks for her. She does her part financially, and we already know she can hold her own when need be. She is respectful, and so she makes sure that her husband is also respectful and he is well kept. That's what her husband is doing. That's why he's respected in high places. Even though he may be the leader, they recognize his wife. She has a part to play in it. I'm thinking that the last part was the grandma and the grandfather, more the grandma back in the days with that cutting off that electricity. They didn't play about that. You couldn't even talk. You had to be quiet. There were just things we just couldn't do that they do today. They just didn't. They just didn't play when it comes with what they would call the Lord's work, where when it was lightning, thunder, and lightning outside. Okay, yes, and it's so good that we understand that when we put both these together, that you got the right husband, you got the right wife, and it just works because God has placed this. This is God's blueprint, and when we don't see this, we can understand that this wasn't God's blueprint. We have to understand that, yes, not taking a bath, not getting in that shower. We just everything was just different back then. We just so busy just doing this, just doing that. We don't even have time to even revere the things that we have no control over, like thunder and lightning. We just don't pay it the respect that it's due like we used to. Verse 24, and I may have already touched on it from her, but I'll just repeat it. She makes clothes and belts and sells them to the merchants. And I kind of mentioned she does her part. She does her part financially. She can hold her own if need be, because he may have to go away. She may need to go away. But if he needs to go away, she has to be able to run the household and it doesn't lose a beat. That is the reason why, yes, we couldn't even be on the phone. We couldn't be on the phone. We definitely couldn't have that TV on. That was going off first. But she plays her part financially, and she knows how to run the household. She's well taken care of. She is the perfect assistant CEO. She's ready. She's ready for the opportunity as need be, because we don't know what may take place and you have to step up. And that's what the blueprint of the godly wife looks like. Now, verse 25, she is a strong person and people respect her. She looks to the future with confidence. She's forward thinking and respected. She is not a pushover. Yes, I know women want their man to have them in a secure situation, someone who can protect them, someone that can hold them down. But a man also wants a woman who's not a pushover. He wants someone who also has his back. He definitely might need to fight a battle, but he wants to make sure that you got his back. And I know that's found, I think that's found in Song of Solomon, where it talks about two people are better than one. And, it's about her having your back. When she got your back, a lot more can be done because you are dependent on her and she's dependent on you, and you are strong. That's where it comes with that three-chord strand. God, you, and your spouse can make that happen, and y'all are not easily broken. Verse 26, she speaks with wisdom and teaches others to be loving and kind. In other words, she's a good citizen. She uses her wisdom from God. It is so important to use your wisdom from God. Yes, we want a strong person. Yes, we want someone who's not going to take no mess, but we want you to do it with godly wisdom. We don't want you to be running off at the mouth and looking quote unquote ghetto, gangster. We want you to have some coof about your strength. We want you to do it with wisdom and integrity. You can get what you want across by showing that you are well kept and well schooled in whatever you are dealing with. We don't want you just running off the mouth and making the situation worse. We don't want you standing in front of us and leading in front of us and mopping at the mouth, and you putting us in more harm, or you putting us in a bad position. We want you to use your godly wisdom. And you may be the one who might need to talk us down in a situation. Okay. Verse 26. She speaks with wisdom and teaches others to be loving and kind. She oversees the care of her house. She is never lazy. Now, her house is taken care of. You can't catch her slipping. See, she's not lazy. She's never lazy. So you won't catch her slipping. She's going to oversee and make sure that her house is in order. And that's so important because you more than likely are out there as the male, out there doing more of the heavy work. But she is the one that's taking care of the other things that you may not have time to take care of. And I'm more thinking of more the inside of the house. But even if there's outside stuff, I'm sure she has let you know of the things that need to be done because she wants to keep a well-kept house. She is not slipping. Thank you, Nina. Verse 27. No, verse 28. Her children say good things about her. Her husband brags about her and says, I'm going to stop that. Stop there. Her family knows she is the glue. I don't know about you guys, but me as a son, I kind of always felt growing up as a kid that my mom was the glue. And you women who will or already are wives, you are the glue. And your children needs to be able to say that, and your husband needs to be able to quote unquote brag about that, that you are the glue. And you're the glue. You are so important. You are doing a lot of the things that a man is going to overlook because he is not going to see the small details that you see. Like I've said before, I used to do photography and taking pictures. And when you get ready to go and crop pictures, the best assistant, in my opinion, because I think women do this a whole lot better than men, is women see more of the small details than men do. We overlook that. We only kind of like focus on the strength, and we so minimize the things that may need to be addressed, but we don't see it because we only look at the strong parts of stuff. But women see the details. They can catch the little things. I laugh even today. I may put something on and I'm thinking I'm where I need to be, blase, blase, blah. And my mom will point out a spot or a wrinkle or whatever the case is, because women see the small details where it goes boom right over a man's head. And that's why you are the glue. Yes, yes, women are definitely good at multitasking. Yes, do not have me doing more than one thing. It's like I said, I don't know if you can tell, but for me, it is a lot harder. But for me, it is a lot harder trying to do this and look at the chat at the same time, because men, um, I believe, don't multitask as well as females do. I know I don't. I'm gonna at least say I'm not as good. I know I'm not as good at multitasking. Let me do one thing at a time. That's why I believe a lot of times I misplace so many things, is because I I need to be focused. Give me one task at a time. One task at a time. And then allow me to hop to something else. Verse 29. There are many good women. And I pointed that out. There are many good women. Many good women. But for that husband, you are the best. For those who came on a little bit late, I kind of started out with saying there's millions and millions of beautiful women. And I know for myself, I grew up thinking younger, grew up thinking and was naive that I could have found a lot of different females to, be involved with, because I have a personality that I believe that I can get along with almost anybody. However, I've learned, and this also says, there are many good women, and they are. But your wife is the best. She is, hear me now, she is, you wives that are on here, for your husband, you are not replaceable. You are not replaceable. I know that for myself. You are not replaceable. The reason why you are not replaceable, and probably the main reason why you're not replaceable, because God chose you for that man. You are not replaceable. You are not replaceable. So I want you to understand that. Get that in your spirit. To your husband, not to someone else, but to your husband, you are not replaceable. And I hope and pray that they get that as well. You are the best. So there's no need of them going anywhere else, because you are the best. You are the best. Verse 30. Grace and beauty can fool you. Oh, sure can. But a woman who respects the Lord should be praised. Now, I've said this on many lives. I've said this in videos. there are a lot of beautiful women, and many are gracious as well. And truly, many of us men have been fooled by it. Grace and beauty can fool you. Sure it can. It can fool you. But a woman who respects the Lord should be praised. In other words, if that woman knows the Lord, she should be praised. And if you think about this for a moment, y'all think about it. I've had discussions with people about this. Isn't it interesting that yes, beauty is definitely fleeting? Isn't it interesting that some of the most beautiful women in the world, and let's just go with stars, because many times we know that stars can, have the people fix them up to the point that they need to be fixed up. How so many of them are not married, never been married, even if they have been married, how short it lasts, because like Leslie said, beauty is fleeting. And anyway, if any of us live long enough, age will eventually take place. So you need some substance. And the biggest substance that you need is a woman who respects the Lord. She knows the Lord and she respects the Lord. So that's important. It's one thing, and I believe that many of you, all of you, are beautiful, but beauty is a distant, I mean, far distant second to fearing the Lord. Fear the Lord. That should be first. You want to fear the Lord. As a man, well, let me go ahead and read 31. Give her the reward she deserves. Praise her in public for what she has done. I am so glad of that last verse, because I think we as men need to do more of this. Better at this. Not saying that some don't do it, but we need to reward our wives. We don't say the little things that need to be said. Like, let's just say you at a restaurant and the waitress comes by, and you as a man should say something like, I'm here. I'm glad to be here tonight with my beautiful wife, or whatever you need to say. You need to acknowledge and show her that. The 5 love languages. I believe that we all really have 2 dominant, maybe a 1A and a 1B. I know for me, and I think for most men, it's physical touch. I think a lot of men, that is going to probably be number 1, physical touch. The second one for me is quality time. I think that can vary as the 1B for men, but I think physical touch is number 1 for most men. For women, I think that acts of, I'm gonna say kindness, because I can't think of them right off hands, and giving gifts are usually 1A and 1B for most women. Now we know everybody's different, but we have to, as husband, reward and show our wives respect. And after you've been with them a while, many times we get too comfortable. But that's why we need to read the scriptures. That's why we need to continue to talk. That's why we need to sometimes feel like we just started dating again, so we don't lose these things and things don't become mundane and we forget about it. Because after you've been around for a while, we a lot of times take each other for granted where we shouldn't. Understand, even though he, the man, the husband, is the king of the castle, and we kind of know and understand that's our role, to be the king of the castle. But where there's a great man, you don't have to look far, because there's also a great woman. That woman is his wife. Yes, he is the king of the castle only because God had to put someone as the head. But being the head is a partnership. He's just the one that if something goes down, I got to go to somebody first. That's him. But you two are a partnership. You two are, like I said earlier, 1A, 1B. You two are together. And it's so important for that man to understand, when God has gave him the perfect wife, what she looks like, what she does, how she does it, and more importantly and lastly, how he needs to treat her, because God has given him a treasure. And it's just like anything else. We tend to take our treasure for granted when we have it for some time. But we need to have that relationship with God so he can shake us up every once in a while to let us know that that treasure is just as valuable today that it was as it was when he first put us together. That's what I got for you on tonight. God's blueprint for a wife in marriage. I ask, is there any questions that you may have? I thank God for allowing me to share this with you. Seems like mostly ladies, and it's just interesting. I must say this before I even go there. It's just so interesting that me being a male, that it seems like God has always had a way of leading me to speak to the women. Don't get it twisted. I do want to be able to speak to the men and get them to understand. And maybe it's going to take some time for them to catch on. But it's important for you to know what you are supposed to show as a godly wife. In other words, you need to be a godly wife before you actually be a godly wife, if that makes sense. Sometimes these things happen before it happens, and this is one of the cases. It's so important for us men to get it, but men have an ego. Men have done their own thing, and we've seen the way most of the scriptures are written, that it predominantly focus on the men, and we've kind of been disobedient to what God has, and we kind of try to do it our own way. But we need you ladies to also do your part and kind of force us also to get in line by your obedience, trust, and fear of the Lord. And when you do it, then hopefully we'll get ourselves together as well. I know that's not an excuse, and it's not, but we all can only be who we are. So let us do our part so that others can get it. There were some scriptures in there that talked about that she didn't only care for her own household, but she cared for the poor, and she was a good citizen outside of her household. So I encourage each and every one of you who are ladies on here to also do your part to be a godly wife, the perfect wife for that husband and the community in general. Are there any questions before this tired young man close out for this afternoon? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. It is gone. I thank each and every one of you. I pray for you, ladies. I pray for the men. Of course, I pray for myself as well. I know there's a struggle, but struggles are a part of life. And as we see when we are doing the work of God, it is not going to be easy. But God is good. Thank you, Leslie. And thank everybody. And y'all enjoy your night and make sure that you trust and fear and respect God Almighty. Take care. God bless. And once again, much love.